My name's Dan Nelson. I've been the 2025-26 president of LOLA. For those of you that don't know what LOLA is the Lake Orion Lake Association. LOLA, there's a song like that. Yeah, but if you listen to the words, that's why I didn't use it for a theme. But anyway, what is LOLA? You know, what do we do? What's our responsibility? When I came in 3 years ago, George Dandelitis over there, I sat right over there and they needed a position filled. And George stand right in front of me and stared at me until I caved in. So I was the secretary, then the president-elect, then the president. Now I moved to the past president. Reason we use the three-president system is any type of incidents or issues that we're pursuing, they're not lost by an outgoing president going out. One of the important things for me is I just sort of wanted to get back. The organization, we have members that have started LOLA back in 1977 with us tonight. Next year will be 50 years that they volunteered their time. So that's going to be a presentation I'm looking forward to. Right, Jerry? Okay. Jerry, just so everybody knows, Jerry Richards, he has donated his property. He takes care of our buoys. He stores our buoys. He works on the buoys. He's with us when the buoys go out. Richard Benoit, right behind him, he's there every year. You guys have seen the pictures on our social media in regards to that. Thank you, guys. That's 50 years is quite an accomplishment. So, Jim, will you go to, people a lot of times don't know what LOLA is. Pain in the Ass Association, HOA, whatever you want to call it. Our police departments sort of can listen to us sometimes, and other times it's difficult and they have issues. I have a public safety background. I was a paramedic in my earlier days. So I sort of have a familiar conversations that I can have. And I tell you what, Lake Orion has got some things to tout. Number one, we've been safety and injury free for how many years, Lieutenant, you know? Yeah, we had the drowning a couple years ago, but primarily, from what we understand from the sheriff department, is as far as other lakes go in Oakland County, we're right there. We're well serviced, safe. Anything ever happens, and we have Chief Allen in the fire department. He's going to talk about his capabilities here in just a few minutes. But the Lake Association is primarily the riparian lake owners. How many owners do we have in here right now? Okay, good. Quite a few. So that's one of the tricks that we've been trying to increase our line of communication, to try to get a little bit more input from the riparian owners. And what I mean by input are what are the issues that are out there that we should be dealing with, you know, as an association. Association is something that we can do, what we can do much easier collectively is a lot easier than what individuals can try to work on out there. So as a group, it's very important that we hear from the membership. So the communication is something that we've been working on. Jim Berry, the incoming president, he is working on several communication, what would you call them, platforms, that we can get everybody on an email type of thing. That way you can look at the information at your convenience rather than be barraged by social media. Social media is important, and if you really want a history of what we do and how we do it, we don't have the time this evening, but go back, find our Facebook page, scroll all the way back to January, and then what I tried to do with the social media was paint a picture of what we do. I've featured Chief Edmondson and some of the stuff that we've done on the village level, on the township level. We have Chief Allen handles the fire department and rescue, and then we have the sheriff department, Lieutenant Burwell and his crew, and most important, our resident Bill Hughes that's been on the lake. How many years have you been on the lake now, Bill? Since 18, so that's 7 years. So not too many people out there that know the lake better than Bill. Thank you. Here is the mission statement of LOLA. The purpose of the association shall be to provide effective communications between its members and governmental agencies relating to all activities that may affect its members, to promote, advocate, and protect the best interests of the area through preservation of natural beauty of the environment. That about says it all. We're not an enforcement agency. We advocate. We work with both local governments at the village level and the township level on different items. But I wanted to make some core issues when I took over the presidency last year. Jim added a few, but we got primarily what I always operated under was education, safety, and community. The education, we're responsible. We put on a boater safety class in conjunction with the sheriff department twice a year now. We do one when everybody gets the itch, end of March, beginning of April. Then one of the things that Susan Dandelitis and George, last year they came up, they found a way onto the websites at all the local schools, middle school and high school. Did that last year. We had a full, I think both our classes were 50 people that we hold next door in the Dragon Room right here. So this year, it started off a little slow in June for the June class. George and Susan put the ad back in for the kids, and now we have a full class, and we actually had Deputy Brown increase the amount of students that can attend. So I think we're up to 43 for not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. Everything that we've done is tried to fit into one of these three categories. So that's education. Safety is all about communicating with Chief Allen, Chief Edmondson, Bill Hughes, our deputy out there, and through Bill, he has the whole organization behind him. I believe right now you're considered the SSR team, or SRT. Good. So as you see, we got plenty of firepower behind us. That all fits into safety. Over the year, I've had several conversations with each one of them. Just talking about issues, how can we help, how can we support you? And there's some things that we were able to do. Is everybody familiar that the Marine unit at the village level has sort of stepped it up? That has to do because Chief Edmondson. It's only in addition to already great coverage that we were getting from Bill Hughes and the rest of the team at the Oakland County Sheriff Department. So that all fits into safety. Then there's community. What's community all about? Well, let's see, last Friday, I was over at Wildwood. We donated $500 to the fireworks. What do they go by? Lake Orion Fireworks Foundation. So we gave $500 as a donation. I went there, worked the crowd a little bit, got that up to $1,100, and we're just sort of adding to it. So that's part of our community approach. We also are responsible for the lighted boat parade that we have every year, and we provide the safety boats for the dragon races, which I'm sure something else is coming up here later, right? Which will have the information on the dragon races. We also have this year, out of, how do I put it? Out of frustration, we rely on all the riparian owners to be members, to contribute. We have a lot of things going on that just aren't community thing. We have a SAD, right? That you did, and when is that? And what year? Okay, so we got 8 years to go. Whew, before we have to deal with that again. So what I did was I sort of redirected, how do we do the most for the least? And that was, started this year, a sponsorship program. I went to people that are involved with the lake, the Masheri Group, the restaurants in town, and they were all more than willing to pay a sponsorship fee of $500. And then I was able to gain, what's the last count on sponsors, 16? Right? So it was easier to go after the sponsorship money that we use for things such as, we donated again this year and helped Chief Edmondson send 2 more officers to the Marine Training Academy. Where's that out of, Chief? Holland. So last year we sort of had an idea, and how that came about, just had I called Chief Edmondson and I said, hey, you want to sit down and talk about the lake? And we just traded some ideas. And he said, I have a need. So I identified that need with the rest of the board. We were able to send 1 officer last year, got tremendous feedback coming back to the department. Most of the guys at the village, both on full-time and the reserve, got great feedback from the guys that went. There was a bigger request, so between the chief looking in his budget a little deeper, he sent 2 and we sent 2 more again this year. So that's now 6 officers that we've sent to the training academy. That equals just higher training, better training, more services for people on the lake. So those are the things that I talk about as far as community goes. Monitoring and communication, we need to find out how to communicate better, because slapping it on Facebook, slapping it on Facebook, sometimes people get numb. You know, and then the incoming president, Mr. Berry here, I whispered in his ear one time about AI, and he took off with it. And he did a really good job. Huh? He did a really good job. And so I'm going to end my comments with something that he put together about what LOLA is exactly. You know, just again, back to what is LOLA. We really, really want to bring the community together.
Spring is here, and it is time to get the boats ready for a new season. Lake Orion is more than a lake. It's a community, a gathering place, and a shared resource that connects generations. Every season brings new memories, and every year, the responsibility to protect this lake grows. The Lake Orion Lake Association, or LOLA, is a volunteer-driven organization dedicated to preserving the health, safety, and enjoyment of Lake Orion. For decades, we've worked alongside residents, local government, and community partners to ensure this lake remains one of Michigan's most vibrant inland waterways. Safety is at the heart of our mission. LOLA supports boater safety education and CPR training by collaborating with the Oakland County Sheriff Marine Unit and the Orion Township Fire Department. We maintain no-wake navigational buoys, promote safe boating practices, and support programs that protect every person who steps onto the water. from first-time boaters to lifelong lake residents. Healthy water is a foundation of a healthy lake community. LOLA volunteers take water samples, which allow us to monitor phosphorus and chlorophyll level, as well as measuring water clarity. LOLA also supports invasive species management and weed control. Lake Orion is known for traditions, and LOLA helps bring them to life. From the lighted boat parade, the annual youth fishing derby, donation to the fireworks fund, dragon boat race safety patrols, we help create opportunities for neighbors to connect, celebrate, and build lasting memories on the water. Membership is open to all lake residents, lake users, and anyone else interested in maintaining the quality and safety of our lake. Your membership helps to strengthen every part of this mission. For just $20 a year, you assist LOLA in support of safety programs, environmental protection, community events, and the long-term stewardship of the lake we all love. Please renew or join the Lake Orion Lake Association today and help protect the lake that is one of the most valuable resources in our community. To renew or join now, go to our website listed below or QR code. In addition, if interested in joining our board or volunteering to help on one of our activities, send us a note from the website contact page. Looking forward to another fun and safe season. See you on the lake.
We were struggling for the last couple of years to how to get that message across to people. That one tells it pretty good. So that was Jim and his AI. So who knows what's coming this year.
Spring is...
I think I saw one out there today about Ori the bass or something. Oh, we got him coming up, okay. The last thing I'll talk about community, we didn't have enough time to get on TV to get us. Last Saturday we had the youth fishing derby. If anybody hasn't had the chance to go do that or just come and observe, you have to do it. I think my heart melted about 4 times that day. And you got little junior about this big with the hat on like this and the long hair and the little lisp he had, and he caught a bluegill, and my heart just melted. You just can't keep from doing that. George brought that up last year. He said, you're having a bad day. Just keep that on loop and go watch it. It'll make you smile. So that was one of probably the best things that we put together. Bill was there to show the kids a little bit of uniform authority. So he went around and introduced himself, had lunch with the kids. That was real special. You know, I think 2 or 3 years ago we had the DNR come in, but that always makes me nervous when the DNR comes into town. So you guys back there all smiling. You know exactly what I meant. So with that, the year that I just put in, it felt good to me. Be able to work with the board people that are here are probably one of the most qualified collective group of people that I've seen in a community setting. And their qualifications are off the chart. Everybody has a special qualification that they bring to the board. And the little blurb that you put in there, you know, hey, if you want to join us, fine, some people join us. Who's our newest? Jen, you're the newest, right? Oh, Caitlin. Yeah, Caitlin and Bill. So, and I forgot to mention, Bill took it upon himself. He already dedicates himself to the community enough, but he decided to join the LOLA board. That has just been a tremendous transition. Bill's helped us out with a lot of stuff. And the feedback that we're getting from the community has been huge. It just put everybody at a comfort. So, Lieutenant Noel, you got a great guy on the lake. From that, Jim, what do you want covered? Everything? Yep. The only thing I want to show is the buoy set of the map. Okay. Everybody notice that we're responsible for putting the buoys out every year. These are DNR permitted buoys. They are not LOLA's buoys. We fund them, we repair them, we place them, we retrieve them, we do everything in regards to the buoys. But we don't have any enforcement at all. So what we did this year, we had some changes to the, he always gets called out every time we have a meeting, doesn't he? These are all, this was Bill's idea. We GPSed all the buoys. So now there's, and this list is on LOLA.org, our website. Those are all listed, and they have all the GPS coordinates. I don't know if you guys in SRT can use those coordinates for any check marks or anything like that on the lake. But each one of these buoys, there they go. Be safe. Oh, they left you, Bill. Oh, good. We can pick on you now. Anyway, this was Bill's idea and their GPS. You'll notice some change. If anybody's got any questions in regards to the buoy, barge. Oh, saw a picture of the barge that we use called Miss Lola. It's about ready to end up in the bottom of the lake. Last year we had to we're estimating about $1,200. Divide that by 20. A lot of members that we need just to replace something that we utilize every year, both going in and which is stored out on the Sandbar Island, isn't it? That's where we keep it. We don't have any property. But one of the things that I wanted to try to accomplish that I couldn't this year, wanted to see what availability of land and property there was available for us to be able to store our buoys. Jerry's done it for 50 years graciously out of his own heart, but things aren't timeless. You know, sooner or later, Jerry may want to retire. We have health as we all get older, you know, that type of thing. So I know that's a politically charged item. So I'll just leave it at that. We can have shorter conversations in regards to that after the meeting. So with that, why don't we get Pam come up, give a treasurer's report to let you know what kind of money we've been dealing with or not dealing with. And then after that, we'll get our speakers going and get everybody back home for their first day. Come on, Pam.
As Dan said, I'm Pam Dippo. I live on Bellevue, so I am a lake resident and the treasurer here. What we have here are the categories for our spending. This is our budget for 2026. We actually kind of kept what we spent in 2025 and tried to carry that to the 2026 budget. You can see the focus, like Amy had brought up, is really on a lot of the safety issues between the buoys, safety classes and CPR classes that we do pay for some of the foods and things like that for folks who do participate in those as well. Oh, thank you. Is that better? Got it. Like right here? Okay, sorry. Okay.
Then you have it on the computer in front of you.
Is this better? Okay, thank you, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so as I was saying, a lot of the safety-related items are listed there as well, but you can also see the lighted boat parade, the community-related items that we're trying to support, the fishing derby, the youth fishing derby. Also, we do that. We do have some administrative type expenses between our website and insurance. We do have liability insurance that we have to cover, but overall, our budget is about $13,000 for the year. So far to date, we've spent about $3,200 as of the end of May, and we will track that throughout the year and then establish our budget that way. As Dan had mentioned, you know, at $20 a pop for the membership, that's doesn't cover our expenses. So it is through those sponsorships that we really do are able to fund all of this. So Dan's active work in trying to solicit sponsors. We even have some personal sponsors besides some of the businesses. So that's how we cover these expenses. Our current cash balance at the end of May was $10,429. So we're on track to cover all of our expenses, but this is an ongoing thing each year between the sponsorships and the membership. Go to the next slide. And then, just to let you know, we also acquired our 501c3 status this year. So that gives us federal tax exempt status. Any donations made to LOLA are exempt from federal taxes, so we can do that for individuals and businesses. It does allow for any grants to be achieved, and also helps us help people who might want to help out Lake Orion by being able to deduct it from their taxes. So that's it.
So we're dealing. I got it. So we're dealing with a little bit more money, which helps us take. You know, we don't have to take our time to think about fundraisers and functions. A lot of work goes into those. Jim will tell you he ran the fishing derby. It's his baby, and he's been working on it all year. Probably why it ran so smooth. But the money, people, is, I know all these organizations get in front of people, and it's always money, 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 give, money, money, money. We live on the largest asset that's in the township. A little bit of money for $20. I'm a real estate man. I've been for 40 years. My whole reason that I got involved was to protect and enhance the property values on Lake Orion. When the plant goes active next year, property values in our area are just going to skyrocket. Crowding, overcrowding, those type of issues are going to skyrocket. But the money is going to, there's always going to be a need for it, things to build on, you know, type thing. I got an education. One of my jobs as president was to review the PLM bills every month that they're put in, you know, that the treatment's put in. Wow. Anybody got an idea what we spend as residents for the weed treatment? Anybody? About $100,000 a year, about $25,000 per treatment. Right, see? Yeah. And they did well at putting the program together. You know, they budgeted numbers to have increases in there, service calls that go back, prices that go up, type of thing. So everything has been sort of like clockwork on that. But it's all about money, people. So for those of you that are residents, please talk to your neighbors. Tell them to get involved. I mean, to me, $20 to protect and enhance $1 million properties is nothing. In fact, I can't figure out why people wouldn't. We're now starting to get, when I started the sponsorship program, there was a lot of individuals that just piped up and sent us in $500, not 20. I'd love to see that go, spread like wildfire. But, Rick, you're up. Rick is the gentleman that has had the DNR approval to handle the geese and swan issues that we have on the lake. So Rick has done it for how many years?
24 years.
24 years. And
That's the reason why I'm here tonight.
and he's about done. So he's going to give a presentation about what he does. We've introduced him to Kalen. Kalen is one of our new board members, also comes as an environmentalist background. So Kalen and Rick have now got together, shared some information, so we can see. Rick's going to let us know what he does out there. The chief's really listening.
No, I really appreciate that, and I did talk to the chief. I know we got some issues other than the lake itself on the surrounding areas, but I just wanted to, and I want to thank Dan for giving me this opportunity to talk to you for a few minutes about two important programs on Lake Orion. One's the geese and one's the swans, and they're two different programs, but they're both sponsored by the Michigan DNR, but they're also sponsored by this township office. I wouldn't be able to be permitted to do that if they didn't give me a resolution letter and vote on it. They give it to me every 5 years. The one I have now goes through 2030. So again, I could not do the lake and do this program without their okay. So tonight I'd just like to say why we do it, what we do, and then of course at the end why I asked Dan to be here tonight. Why it's important, let's go talk to the geese. The geese of this program has been here for decades. How I got involved, I was in my upper 40s at the time, and my neighbor, I live on Marina Point, my neighbor across the street was in his 70s and asked me to help him, which you can do that, help individuals with this program, but there's only one person be permitted on the lake to do that by the DNR. So I worked with him a couple years, and then finally he said, would you take this on? And I said I would. So that was 24 years ago. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, why we do it, there's no control of geese on Lake Orion because there's no hunting allowed. And we all understand why, because of the population. And the geese population, when I first started this, especially when there was areas, because most geese will breed on islands and things like that where predators can't get to them. The sand bar where people swim, before Dino took that and cleaned that up, we used to get 20 nests on there. We used to get hundreds of eggs. And if you understand geese, one thing, they mate for life. Number two is wherever they breed, they come back to rebreed. So back when in the 24-year period, when I first started helping them, we would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of eggs on Lake Orion. And that would have been a problem. And now, this year, I got like 70. And the year before, I got 70. So we've brought that geese population down as much as we possibly could. That doesn't mean you won't see geese on the lake. You'll also see goslings on the lake, too, because there's areas outside Lake Orion that I'm not permitted to do, like Indianwood, like Square Lake. They come across from out of those lakes into our lake. So you'll still see some, but we don't have a big goose problem. Well, why is that? Do you want to control it? Because a goose will, an adult goose will have about 1.5 pounds of feces a day. Okay, and some of these lakes around here, you've noticed that they've had to shut down their beaches and things like that because of E. coli, salmonella. So it is important for us to do that. We do not have that problem here, and because we have controlled it. When you go on the lake, you see some geese, but not very many, and we want to continue that as we move forward. The other thing is how I do this is I'm permitted on a yearly basis to go out and do this. The biologist from the DNR will tell me when it's time to do this. And usually it's in the end of April, the 1st of May. I go out and I'm allowed to have people help me under the permit. We go out, and since I've done this so long, most of the geese will re-nest in the same areas. So I know where those nests are. So we go out, we take the eggs at that point, because the reason why the biologists know that is because they want us to take them at that time, because If you don't, the goose will re-nest. So what we do is we take the eggs, we destroy the eggs, and we destroy the nest and kind of harass them to get them out of the area. So we do that, and then and 2 weeks later, we go back out again to make sure they didn't re-nest or we didn't miss any. Now, I'm not saying we don't miss some, because you will see some out there because it's a big lake, right? But you have to have a small boat, small motor. You have to go out into these swampy areas and some of these islands and look real hard, because they kind of hide as much as they possibly can. So that's the goose program. About 6 years ago, the DNR called me and said, will you put in a permit to do the mute swans? And I talked to them a little bit, and I said, sure, I'll do that, because the only way the DNR can do this is under a permit. So if I didn't have this permit, or they didn't have somebody permit, they wouldn't be allowed to come in on Lake Orion to do this. A mute swan is an invasive species. It's not native to Michigan. They're very, very aggressive. Our native swans are called trumpeters, and they're very less docile. The way you can tell the difference is a mute swan is a little bit bigger. It has an orange beak, where a trumpeter has a black beak. These swans are very, very aggressive. The DNR is they've been trying to eradicate them as much as they can, but on the populated lake like we have, they can't do that. So we try to control the eggs. We have about 5 laying pairs of mute swans. They're a little bit different because the mute swan will continue to have eggs. So when it's time, the DNR knows that. They call me. They come with their boat. I do the geese eggs myself, but with the swan, I let them come because they oil the eggs. If we didn't oil the eggs and just take them, they would continue to rehab. They oil the eggs, and it kind of suffocates the embryo. So they sit on that nest until the eggs kind of rot, and then they'll leave. So they won't have any small ones now. The problem with the mute swans, like I say, we only have 5 pairs. If you look in some of these lakes in Pontiac in the spring, all you can see is white. They're all over the place. They're very, very aggressive, especially when they have small geese. We've had indications where they have attacked small kids, especially on rafts, on boats, on jet skis, especially when they have small ones. So they've been trying to eradicate them. They're trying to bring the trumpeters back. They have up north, and they're trying to bring them back in. But at one time, they were brought in from Europe for big estates because the mute swan will stay there. It won't let a lot of other animals into those areas. But there was a couple hundred. Now there's tens of thousands of them. And the idea of it is to try to eradicate them as much as they can. What we can do here is do what we do. So that's what we do on a yearly basis. I think it's very important, especially to the landowners and the shore owners of Lake Orion. I am one of those. And if you have docks, if you have grass, if you have beaches, you have all that, you'll see all that material. So we do both of those programs. The reason why I'm here tonight is because I asked Dan, I don't know where to start. I've done it for 24 years. I'm now in my 70s. And it's time for me to give this to somebody else. And that somebody else is going to have to have a boat, have a motor, do those type things. And I'm just starting here. So what I'm asking for you tonight is if there's anybody interested, you know anybody interested, next year I'll be doing it again. But I thought if I could get somebody interested, then I could kind of show them how this works under my permit. Then the following, I'll help them get the permit. The swan, because it's an invasive species, I can get a permit for 5 years, so that's not an issue. Because the Canadian geese is not in space, I have to get one every year. So that happens in the winter time, and then they give me the permit, so I'm ready for the April time frame. So that's the program I've been involved with. I think it's important. I think it's important to the lake. We do not have the problem that other lakes have, and I've talked to the DNR. Some of these lakes have a big, big problem, but I don't want it to go back the other way. If I stop tomorrow, you probably wouldn't see an effect for maybe 3 or 4 years, but then after that, they keep coming back and back and back. We'd have hundreds of them. And again, there's no way to get rid of a goose because you can't hunt them. So,
And I introduced Rick to one of our new board members.
yeah.
Greg, this is our graduation from Oakland. So he's going to be
Yeah.
working with Rick
Yeah.
to try to see
Yeah.
the instructors at the schools, try to come up with another environmental.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anybody have any
Any
questions
questions?
for Rick?
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight.
One thing
What's
I
next?
did want to
Yeah.
add,
Yeah.
there's truckers funds in, Addison.
Oh, yeah, they are starting to bring them back. In fact, in the 24 years I've been here, it was about 5 years ago, I saw a trumpeter for the first time. I live on Marina Point in that channel, and it was in the winter, and our channel doesn't freeze because all the springs. And that trumpeter was going back and forth, and behind it was 2 mutes, just moving it back and forth until it flew off. That's the only trumpet I've ever seen here in 24 years. So, I have had some issues. Some people don't like what we do, and so I've had occasional with both the sheriff department and the Orion Township Police at my house before. But they understand. Once they understand the program, it's not really publicized or advertised program for certain reasons, but they've been more than gracious to me when it comes to understanding what we do.
Thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Hey, who do we got up next, Jim? Both of you can come up. Mike Keller is our chief science officer on the lake. He handles the water quality testing for the state of Michigan. So he packages all the water up based on their specifications. We send them in. Probably the 2 biggest things that we look for is chloroform and chlorophyll and phosphorus. Yeah. Okay. Phosphorus gets embedded into the bed of the lake. So anytime we have a disruption of the bed of the lake, we monitor that. Those are our indications that something through how we're using the lake, what we're doing, how we're doing it, is giving us a good indication of what's going on. Right now, we're all within norms, aren't we?
Yeah, I was actually looking at some
Well,
data.
I'll let Mike give
just
the
talking.
give
Get
the
outta here.
presentation and then turn it over to PLM.
You're doing all the work for me here. But yeah, we, to piggyback on what he said, we look at trends over time. We do have a slide, but I'm not gonna bore you with it. But you have data points, whether it's phosphorus, chlorophyll, Secchi disc for water clarity. You look at a 10-year span, and you want it, a couple things. You don't want it to get worse, obviously, but you want it to trend, and you know where you should be to be a good lake, and a good standard lake. And it does bounce around a little bit, to simplify it, but I thought it was 2013 or 2014, I saw, it did something where it was way up high, spiked way up high. I'm like, huh. And how we use that data is, we say, okay, did we get, now you start, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but then you start looking at your rainfall. Did we have excessive rainfall? Did we have excessive this or excessive that? Weather patterns, stuff that to indicate, oh, there, yeah, there he goes. Oh, there it is. Yep, something that indicate that the lake may have a problem. You get lots of construction. Water runoff can be a problem. But what this data does, it puts the alarm bells out. Say, huh, we got a problem. Or it could be invasive weeds, which we work with Steve on that. So it's not a finite value thing. It doesn't say, well, that blue dot means this or that blue, but it says, huh, the red flag's going up. We need to look into this. And what's great about this data, and you have the website, Jim, real quick? I don't know if you have the website. Well, oh yeah, this website, right here. Go right there. You go right there, you can actually say, you know what, I don't believe what this crazy guy's saying up here. I'm gonna look at Lakeville Lake, Cass Lake, Orchard Lake. I'm gonna compare. you just pick them all. You can pick whatever you want, and it will give you that same scatter plot with all the different lakes. And then that gives you an idea where you stand. So I encourage anybody that's kind of a data nerd to do that. MichiganCore.net, it's a great website. Again, it's got this for, I think, what is this? This is our, phosphorus, or what is this? Looking at. Yep, this is phosphorus, yep, there it is. Phosphorus, that's our chlorophyll. Yeah, go back to the one slide. Yep, see that? That's what I'm talking about. Right there, 2012. You can see all the other years. Pretty consistent. That's the kind of stuff we look at. So you'd look at 2012, man, look at that, did we have rainfall? You know, that's the idea. We monitor our data every year. It's on their website. We got last year's data on the website. I encourage everybody to go on the website and click on, I think it's testing and results, right at the top. Boom, testing results. Tells you everything about me, tells you everything about what we take. I just mentioned Secchi, phosphorus, and chlorophyll, but it kind of gives more detail about when we take it, how we take it, blah, blah, blah. So I encourage everybody to do that. And again, I'm trying to keep this short because I'll keep talking like Dan. I'm like Dan Jr. I will talk and talk and talk. So the website's fantastic. It has a lot of good stuff. Check it out. If you want more information from me, I'll be hanging around after. I have my email address on there. And one quick point, and now this is a great segue for Steve, because we also do invasive weed monitoring. He does the weed management. We do the monitoring. Meaning, if you guys see some strange weeds, we had this last year. I got a couple emails saying, we've got this weird stuff floating in the water, we've never seen it before. I will come out there with my boat, and we'll take samples, and whether I have to reach out to Steve, or heck, man, now I have an app. Go my app and tells me what it is. If it's invasive, we can get on that and start getting rid of the problem before it becomes a big problem. So please, I need all your help. You guys are my watch guards. If you see something strange, I know it in the back of my house what the weed should be. I'm looking at them every day. If you look at that, say, that weed shouldn't be here. I didn't have that last year or the year before. Let me know so I can get over, get a picture, and we have the right resources to try to get on top of it. So that said, that's my segue from Mr. Steve Hansen. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I was expecting Mike to take more of the 15 minutes, but it is interesting. I knew he was going to be very thorough and have graphs and things, and so I didn't prepare any of that. But interestingly enough, I was looking at the vegetation data today. In the eelgrass that we had a lot of last year, with the species he was talking about, things you haven't really seen. I graphed the vegetation data since 2015. The last 2 years, it's doubled. So it was something, if I was going to be more thorough tonight, I would have talked about. But I'll share that information with the group, and you can put it out how you see fit. Yes. So the main reason I'm here, we'll be here Monday. So the last 2 weeks, I'm sure, have been pretty rough since it's warmed up. Every lake I know is experiencing algae blooms, and the plant growth is going crazy. We're scheduled to be here Monday of next week. So that means it's been a month since we were here.
Is that an extra?
Nope, that's the regular, that's a scheduled, that's the 15th, right? Yep. Yeah, so it's been a month since we were here last time. Yeah, it's pretty close. So we try to plan kind of the middle of the month each month. We'll address the issues that we see. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with the rules on copper sulfate use in May and June, which are most effective, least expensive product for algae and starry stonewort we can't use until July now. So we try to substitute it. They don't always work as well, and they cost more. So we try to only have to manage what we have to until we can get to July and be a lot more thorough for less money for you. So other than that, if there's questions, I've spoke with a couple people here before the meeting.
We're going to have a Q&A here.
Yeah, I probably am not going to stick around.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've got an hour and a half drive to get back. If anything comes up, you want to email me, you can give people my phone number, email. I'd be happy to answer questions. Yep. Yep. All right, thank you.
Informative like always. Chief Allen, you're up. I had just a couple weeks ago, I had a unfortunate circumstance to need the services of our local fire department. I'm a diabetic, so I had an issue, but let me tell you something. The guys that showed up, that worked for Chief Allen, the equipment was top-notch, the knowledge was over the top, the compassion that they showed. We have a fire department to be proud of. So, Chief, how long you been here now, Chief?
3 years.
3 years. Since then, you've seen the fire department out training on the lake. I believe that was Musherry's that gave you some of the old houses before they were taken down, that you smoked them for training purposes. If anybody believes that they have a training environment that the chief might be interested in, please send us a note through the website. I know they're always looking for opportunities for water rescue training type of thing, which they are responsible for, and Chief's gonna talk about some of the new equipment that they have, fireboat and whatever.
So I'm not gonna take up a ton of time. I did print up some one-pagers for everybody to take, so if you want to be able to share the information, please, take some. They're here. You are serviced by, it's a 12-member fire department, so you have 12 people on duty, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So one of the misconceptions that we get a lot of time is that it's still a primary paid-on-call fire department. So we've made the transition over the last 11 years and actually have 12 people that are on duty every day to be able to respond. A couple years ago, we did make the investment into a couple boats. One is a semi-inflatable. It's got a rigid hull and then has the inflatable around the top. This one can be deployed pretty much into any lake. Enough guys can pick it up and move it into any lake that we have. We can deploy it into almost any of the areas in Lake Orion as well. And then in Greens Park, we have a boat that sits in the water. It's out right now for maintenance, but we have it in the water. It does have a fire pump on it, so we do have the ability to pull up to a dock and either spray water directly off of the boat, or a lot of times what we'll do is we'll spin off the nozzle on that, spin on hoses, and we can actually take the hoses up into the houses or whatever we need to do. So we do have multiple ways to fight fires on the water. The boat's also obviously good for any boat fires that we would have on the water. The other thing, part of the rescue capabilities, the fireboat is equipped with a swimming dock off the front. So if we do have a distressed swimmer that just can't get out of the water, we have the ability to deploy the swimming dock off the front, load them on the swimming dock, and then it's 6 to 8 inches for them to be able to get into the boat. So if we have anybody that's tired or distressed or anything like that, we can aid in that aspect. And then we also, on the winter side, we provide your ice rescue. So when that ice is in that in-between stage, we have the ability to deploy. We have the wet water suits, the cold water suits, to be able to get into the water during all temperatures. And usually, this February was a little bit colder than usual, but usually in February, you'll see us out off of Greens Point. We're doing training in February in the water. The guys actually get in the water every year in the cold water suits to be able to do that. And then as soon as we get the boat in this year, you'll see the boat making rounds. One of the hardest parts that we have a lot of times on the water is knowing where you're at on the water. There is technology that's used, so if you need to call 911 and you're on the water, tell them that they need to track your location. It's something they do kind of on the background anyway, in order to get us towards where you're at, but it is, on the lake especially, it's gonna help. One of the struggles that we have is somebody will know that, like, they're across from, and so we end up deploying to the across from area and then have to go through a backyard and then deploy off the water that way. So that's one of the things is, I'll say, recognition of where you're on the lake is our big struggle. So, and something that we've been able to overcome, but just if you ever do have a water emergency or anything like that, the more and better locations and landmarks you can give us, our firefighters know the water, so if you say you're on the Sandby or the Dollar Bay or something like that, we know where those areas are. We do take our members out there regularly. But again, something we can continually find is that people are saying I'm across or I'm by, and they're half mile, 3/4 of a mile from it, so. If they're, yeah, those would help, but that's as long as they're close to a buoy. But yeah, I will definitely get that information from you, and we'll give it to our shift commanders so that they have it as well. There's a Q&A afterwards, so I'll stick around afterwards. If you have any questions, I can answer them then. But please come up and take some flyers as well.
And by the way, too, it's Chief Allen's personnel that put on the CPR classes, and the instructors have been right on top.
Dan, where you going?
Oh, I'm leaving. Jim, he needs to plug in.
I need some IT tech support here.
Yeah, don't. You're asking.
I got a PowerPoint.
Okay.
I'll let Jim finish that up. I'll let Jim finish that up, so I'm not standing on hovering. But I'm Mark Amundson. I'm the Chief of Police for the Village of Lake Orion. I know a lot of people in here, and I've seen some new faces in here as well. So while he's getting that up, I'll tell you, the first thing is Dan Nelson, who's been a great partner through this entire journey, sends me an email and says, hey, send me your PowerPoint, I'll put it in the presentation. And my first response was, PowerPoint? Okay, so I finished this PowerPoint about an hour and a half ago, okay? That's why it's not in the presentation, because, okay. So we're going to go through about 9 or 10 slides. I'm going to go quick through. I don't want to spend no more than 8 or 10 minutes, and then we'll have some questions at the end, so. Okay, I'm going to breeze through this, but obviously we share the same goals and vision for the lake. We have a mutual agenda of keeping Lake Orion safe, keeping Lake Orion protected, and the people protected. So that's why we have just a natural built partnership, because our goals and objectives are the same when it comes to the lake. So I kind of want to go through the history of when I took over this police department in 2024, where we were at, and then where we're at today. So you can kind of see, because I know LOLA's been a great partner with donating money towards our Marine Safety School that we send our officers to. So I want you guys to see firsthand where this is going and how this benefits us and benefits you and benefits the community. But we had 0 officers certified or trained. In our 23-24, we spent about $1,100, which comes out to roughly about 40 to 50 hours of Marine patrol, depending on the day and who's working. And we relied heavily on untrained officers. And our fiscal year, we spent about $1,500 in boat maintenance and equipment for that year. And we had $0 dedicated towards Marine training. So then, which obviously all are issues for me. I don't want people on the boat not trained. That's a problem. That's a recipe for disaster. So year one, with our partnerships with LOLA, we identified a Marine Academy that is hosted by the DNR and the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department in Holland, Michigan. It's a 40-hour, week-long academy, and it just goes top to bottom. The agenda on it is great, especially for our officers that don't have any training or experience. It was very helpful. But small village, what's our problem? Funding. That's where Dan stepped in, and we donated, and we got 2 officers at our very first class. You initially said 1, but it was actually 2, year 1, where LOLA donated. We had approximately $3,600 towards our budget, which roughly equivalated to about 130 hours of man hours out on the boat. We still relied heavily on untrained reserve officers. And then our fiscal year was about $1,600, same. And we did not have any dollars dedicated towards Marine training that year. So I got a little bit more comfortable. 2026. LOLA once again donated. Thank you very much for all those that voted in favor of that. It's helpful, and we were able to send 2 more officers on with LOLA's support, and then I also budgeted an additional 2 officers to send to the training, so we actually sent 4 officers this year. Our 25-26 fiscal year, last year, we had $5,000 dedicated. Our budget cycle ends in about 2 weeks, which comes out to roughly 170 hours of patrol. We relied on a combination now of properly trained officers and reserve officers and also untrained officers supporting the Marine unit. And I'll tell you, Lieutenant Burwell and Bill, thank you very much, because they've been so helpful. And part of our training now on some of our reserve officers that go to the academy is I have them riding on Bill's boat, and Bill will call me, hey, I'm out of here in town. I don't have any Marine deputies with me. I have room for a second person. I'll put a message out to my guys, hey, who's able to ride in the sheriff's boat, so we can kind of get some cross-training, cross-familiarization, big word. And 25, 26, I wrote this, we will spend about $1,500. Unfortunately, our boat went down last week of May. We just got it back in the water last week, and I don't know much about mechanics or boats, but when we drove, it wouldn't go when you turn the wheel to the left or right. So it was a steering issue. They had to remove the engine and fix it. And it's just something I love to happen to me at the very end of the budget cycle with 2 weeks left. Yeah. But we're addressing that. So it's back in the water, fully functional. But, I don't know what boat stands for, but something spending more thousands every time. It's true. And the village also spent $3,500 dedicated to the training between salaries and training to the 2 officers and the salaries that LOLA helped sponsor. So once again, thank you. This is our plans for next year. We want to continue to send reserve officers and certified officers to the Marine training on an annual basis. Our fiscal year budget is $5,000. It's approved for next year, for upcoming fiscal year. We have about $1,700 in boat maintenance for next year. And I will dedicate more funding for Marine officers training as well. We have a pretty good training budget that I increased quite a bit. And we have, for capital improvement needs, we budgeted $2,000 for a radar detector for the boat, so we'll be able to measure speed, and also stabilize binoculars, because when you're on the boat, and Bill actually, I think, is the one that, you're looking across, you have to be able to identify, and yeah, you guys understand. Then I found out stabilized binoculars are pretty expensive, but we're gonna make that happen this year. A lot of people were asking me questions about this Pelton's Point and Greens Park with the dock passes, because we're not issuing the stickers anymore. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that or heard that, but these are the reasons why we are not requiring the stickers. Number one, we never used them. The police department has never used them in enforcement. We have a master list that we would always verify before we ticketed people. Because, just because the sticker's not in the exact right spot, or maybe they didn't get the sticker on, we're not going to issue citations for that. So it is being heavily enforced. There were some rumors going around that, hey, we're not enforcing it, we're not going to get passes. We wrote 2 tickets, and then all of a sudden we got like 100 applications in like next week and a half. So that worked out well, I guess. There is potential conflicts with the state law as well, with where we're placing a village-owned sticker, created sticker on stuff that is state regulated. There's some conflict with our ordinance on that too, and I wasn't comfortable with. We also do not leave tickets on vessels, on boats. We're not going to enter someone's private property vessel and leave a ticket. If we do an investigation, we're going to mail them a ticket to their residence after the fact. So you may not see a ticket there, but doesn't mean we're not sending them out. We also work really close with Sheriff's Department on if they identify potential misuse of this, they're reaching out to me and my guys, and we're responding to also issue the tickets. It will be our responsibility, not the Sheriff's Department, because they are in the Village of Lake Orion. We have a fully digital, up-to-date list. It's at your phone with some pretty good, robust apps that we invested in last year. And enforcement will continue to be strict on that. So I put in here consideration of a paid parking model. We are going to be exploring paid parking in the village. One of the company that we are looking at in this year actually does offer solutions that we could institute a paid parking model instead of doing the passes in the future years, but that's way preemptive, premature at this point. Just so you know, the dock, because we get a lot of friction and heat from this, but the ticket, the first violation's 100, the second one's 500. The permit's 75. So if there's people out there that are saying, you know, the punishment's pretty severe on those. Buoys, let me just say this as nice as possible. We are not the buoy police. We never will be. They are managed and regulated by the state agency, not us, and not the, I don't believe the Oakland County Sheriff as well. The only involvement we'll have, and Lieutenant Burwell will probably have a similar comment, is if there is a navigational hazard, we potentially will remove that buoy from the waterway if it's a navigational hazard. We're not going to do buoy investigations. What I will tell you is there's 16 buoys that are legal on Lake Orion. 16. You're not the only people on the lake, Dan. Relax. LOLA has 15 of them, which you guys know with the GPS coordinates. However, the Village of Lake Orion also has one approved buoy, which was never approved. We got approved this winter after, obviously, LOLA opened up a can of worms. And it's the swim buoys at Greens Park. Those are also legal approved buoys by the DNR as well. So I just threw this in at the last minute because I asked myself, I'm sick of just going year in, year out. What meaningful impact can we have as a community on the lake other than just, hey, patrolling? Yeah, the sandbar's a problem. There's idiots out there drinking. We get that. What meaningful impact can we all see together? So I came up and I was thinking, I hear a lot of complaints about dilapidated docks. I'm going to say this quickly. I'm in a difficult situation because zoning enforcement somehow in the Village of Lake Orion falls under the police department. That is not normal and that is not okay. Police department and police officers, sheriff's deputies, and should have nothing to do with enforcing zoning ordinances, which is stuff like blight and dilapidated docks and grass and zoning variances. Somehow I also am in charge of that. I don't like it, but it's my job, so I'm going to do it as best as I can. So sometimes the lines get blurred of what the police department and code enforcement is doing because under me, I'm the supervisor for both, the management for both. I don't like it, but it is what it is. I'm doing everything I can to separate it, but it's a challenge. But this is going to fall under my code enforcement zoning hat, not the police department hat. I want to do something meaningful for these dilapidated docks. I don't have the staff to do it, but I do want to partner and have lunch with you and kind of discuss if we could come up with some sort of master list of dilapidated docks that need addressing. I am fully prepared to have my code enforcement address the ones on private property and the ones that are on public property that were illegally put there, that we make a list of them and I can get some sort of estimates, for some private companies that can go out and do it and then present it to council. You know, this is how many docks we have with photos, and then potentially get some funding to remove all these docks. I would like to take that challenge. I'd like to be challenged to see if we can get that done, especially if we got some support with identifying these on that. So, you know, no guarantees I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to try. I promise you that. It's because I saw some of them. They need to be addressed. No questions. Thank you.
Get back on here.
The best thing that I've seen in the last couple months was just the collaboration between the village police department and the sheriff department. That was very obvious in the meeting that they had. Hasn't happened in Lake Orion for a long time, that solid collaboration and you got my back, I got your back type of thing. So I'd really like to acknowledge that. That has everything to do, Bill started that effort, called Chief Adamson, got the meeting together, invited me in. Who else was there? Jim was there. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest benefit with that.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Brian Burwell with the Yoke County Sheriff's Office. I oversee the Sheriff's Technical Support Group, which houses most of the Sheriff's Office's specialized units. So whether it's the Marine Unit, our aviation program, drones, search and rescue, Southeast Dive, they all falls under our unit. We have a lot of different resources that we bring to the table. I have 2 sergeants that are full-time that work with me and 5 full-time deputies. I roughly have about 50 part-time deputies that also work with us. So we have one of the largest Marine patrols in the state. We do contracted patrols for Marine, which Lake Orion or Orion Township has a patrol with us. And we have boats dedicated areas, and we have our boats that are countywide. And we also have, like the people you saw in the back there, our search and rescue personnel, technical rescue people. They're always on duty, scattered somewhere throughout the county. And, you know, we always have additional people we call in. So Lake Orion's always been a good lake for us. Every lake has its challenges. You know, we kind of joke about, I listen to complaints on every lake, whether it's this problem on a sandbar, that problem on a sandbar. They're always unique. We're fortunate here because I have Deputy Hughes, who really works this lake specifically for us, and Bill does a fantastic job keeping me in the loop on what's going on. And yeah, we're always checking and verifying to make sure we're where you're supposed to be. I'm really big into teamwork and collaborations. We have a wonderful working relationship with the DNR. We are extremely close with their search and rescue team. Metro's search and rescue team we're extremely close with. And we certainly work very well with the fire department, with the village police. We recently did some training with the township fire department. The chief has been unbelievable to work with. And we spent 3 days doing wide area search training and a bunch of different stuff like that. The village police and I talk all the time. So we're always looking to get it better and whatever we can do to collaborate and assist. And obviously we do a lot more than just diving. We do a lot of other disciplines. So we're busy with a lot of different stuff that comes up. But our Marine patrols are incredibly important to us. We also, though, want to keep people in mind that we don't want to patrol like an occupying army. So if I was to send people out there, I have one group that wants 10,000 tickets wrote. I have another group that wants no tickets wrote. We certainly go out there and enforce the law, but we don't want robots. We want the officers to go out there and officer discretion. If they feel a ticket should be written, they write one. If they feel somebody should get a warning, they make those decisions on their own. And what you see with the sheriff's offices, and one of the things we're very proud of is the education program. We lead the state in education right now. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office teaches more boating safety, hunting safety, and OR safety than anyone else in the state of Michigan. We have people traveling as far as Bay County, Grand Rapids to come to our schools. So education is very important to me, along with enforcement. We have a lot of times on these lakes, people are just misinformed. So we may have somebody who may have a child in the wrong life jacket, but they're trying to do the right thing. They're just misinformed on what the right thing is. And those are opportunities for us to educate people. We do a ton of safety inspections. One of the things I'm very proud of is we do all the livery inspections. So if you rent a boat in Oakland County, some of those boats, if they're not motorized, if they're motorized, we are required to do them every year. The other ones we're kind of at our discretion. We are the only county in the state of Michigan that we inspect every boat for rental in this county. If you're putting your child or your grandchild in a boat, it's been inspected by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. 586 livery inspection boats were done. 6 boat rentals that were illegal were taken out of service. Roughly 8 boats are unsafe to be on the water were immediately pulled. These are all things that our sheriff supports and gives us the resources to do. So that program is very important to us. Those are things that are kind of going on behind the scenes. People don't realize we do. And we're always looking for those improper, illegal liveries and things that aren't being done correctly. And we want to make sure we continue to do that. And again, our partnerships with our local police and fire are extremely important to us. And we work, like I said, we work with everybody. That's what we believe in. The sheriff believes in this teamwork. And as far as, like I said, on some of the lakes here, I kind of joke, I always say if you I feel about the problems at your lake, go to Cass Lake and see what we deal with out there. Because Cass Lake is our largest lake in Oakland County and one of our busiest. That lake, we've seen drastic improvement from where we were 3 to 4 years ago, to where we were operating with almost 22 deputies on that lake to maintain order. Today, we're down to 4. And that was through us laying out a 3-4-year plan of how we're going to get there. And again, you're not going to get there by going on the lake and hammering people. What you're going to get there with is teamwork, cooperation with the public. It's partners with the community. We're not there as an occupying army. So we need the support from the residents. And like I said, a lot of times it's educating people. And we saw Cass Lake today is a whole different lake than it was 3 years ago. And, we're so far, again, our rescue calls, they vary from year to year. But again, we've been hitting hard on education the last few years. And I'll take any questions if anybody has anything for me. Otherwise, anybody have any questions? All right.
Thank you. What do we got left, Bill? Yeah? What do we got left? Bill, you want to share anything with the meeting? Oh, you're good? All right. I think a personal thought on that, adding one of our area finest to the board is nothing but good. Bill, looking forward to it. And with that, this has been a good year for me. Now I get to turn it over to Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim Barry.
Okay. All right. How you doing? It's such a big audience. I feel like I'm at one of the council meetings. Anyway, we're on video, so be careful what we say. One of the things that we've got to address is the officers and board members going into 2027. First off, I'll say if there is anybody here who's interested in being a board member or even just sitting in to a lot of our meetings, we have a meeting once a month, the second Wednesday of each month, 6:30 to 8:30. Everyone is welcome. But again, we are always looking for board members, different people's views on safety, community, education, et cetera. So contact me or Dan if you're interested. Just to announce who our board members are that are here tonight. Obviously, you've met Dan Nelson, who's past president. Over here, we've got George Dandelides. He is past president and will be board member for 2027 as well. We've got Pam Dipple and Rick Dipple over here. Pam is our treasurer. Rick is going to be our president-elect for next year. Over here, we've got Jen Hitu, and Jen is joined us last year, and we've got some specific responsibilities for her going into next year that we'll be working on. We've got, as we said, Kalen Craig. He's over here doing his environmental stuff, but Kalen has come to us this year, and we expect a lot of him, and hopefully he'll get with Mr. Gillette relative to the management of swans and geese. And then we've got Nathan Cook. Nathan has been with us for 2 or 3 years, and he's taken on a lot of the responsibility with Jerry and Richard to maintain and help with the buoys. We need some young blood and some muscle, but Jerry and Richard are still the main coordinators, so hopefully maybe they can pass some of that down to him as they retire that when they, over the next 10 years, I guess, right, Jerry? Yeah, this year we, the old guys just sat and drank coffee and we watched the young guys put the buoys in. But we got to teach them well, right, Jerry? Let's see, who else do we have? In the back, we've got Susan Dandelides and Jennifer Barry, my wife. These two ladies help whatever cause we're working on, whether it be the Lake Association, the Lions, the council, you name it. They are there to help us out and watch our backs. Michael, you're sitting right next to me. I'm looking around. Michael Keller. He's our weed guy. He tries to keep us out of the weeds and keep it under control. him and I share fishing tips as well. Linda Crane is not with us tonight. She's ill, but she will be our secretary going into next year. And Bill, we mentioned Bill Hughes just joined us this year, so looking for a lot from Bill relative to safety and education and just helping to maintain a good place on Lake Orion. Anybody else here? Yeah, Amy's not with us tonight. Amy works at Costco, and generally she's not with us at most of the meetings, but she is a person who reaches out to our sponsors and thanks them and brings them donuts and creates a good relationship with them after Dan takes all their money. So with that, if we just look at this sheet here, again, just to recap, Dan is past president, myself president, Rick Dipple is now the president-elect, Linda Crane, our secretary, Pam Dipple is our treasurer again this year. And then we've got two-year directors, George, who has been in the past president for 2 years, as well as past president, Bill Hughes. We've got Kaylin Craig, who we brought on this year, and then the standing directors that I've just spoke to, Amy, Michael, Jennifer, and Nathan. And I'll take any nominations for any other board members if anybody's interested, like maybe Mr. Pfeiffer or... Anyway, we're always looking for help. We can never have too many board members to get through this. Each of us has a skill, and when we try to get things done, we normally have an expert in one of the fields to look to. All right. Let me go to closing remarks first, and then we can back to questions, because I don't expect we're going to have too many questions. But, you know, first off, again, I just want to thank everybody who is a new and existing member, those people that are here, those people that are not here. Hopefully, maybe they'll watch the videos. But without them, you know, we don't have an organization. But with or without them, I think most of us work hard because we love the lake and we'll do what's necessary no matter what. We've got a lot of donations in terms of additions to the normal membership this year. I was pretty surprised, and I'm going to send out a special note of thanks to those people who have contributed an extra $100 or $500 that goes a long way to helping us fund all our activities. And then to our board, again, without the board that we have, you know, it's like any organization, you know, we've got 150 members, but we've got 10 members who do all the work. You know, we need volunteers, we need some help. But again, I truly appreciate all the board members we have, and like I said, they each have a specific skill that we look to get things done. And then, you know, without Dan, you look at 150 to 200 members, that's $3,000 to $4,000. We pay $2,000 in insurance to protect us from a liability standpoint. That would leave us $2,000 to spend on all the other activities. Dan's brought in about $10,000 this year. That's allowed us to do all the things that we do, the fishing derby, the donations, et cetera, et cetera. So Dan, thanks for all your help. Someone's got to step up and learn how he gets money, though. But it's not me. Okay. Trying to make this short. Again, our core focus going into 27, the top three we had coming into 26, safety, education, community. But I felt we needed a better method of communication because some of our members don't use Facebook, don't use the internet. So we will use direct email to a higher level of degree going into next year. So, you know, hopefully it won't go into your spam bucket. And with Michael and with Kalen, we're going to do an increased level of monitoring of weeds and other aspects of the environment, you know, the geese, the swans, et cetera, to help us know what's going on. In terms of, again, some more specifics, boating safety, you know, we don't put no wake buoys out there for the heck of it. You know, they are there to slow people down. There's a specific issue. Either there's not enough distance between them and the shore or the dock, you know, and in some instances, we have a few buoys which try and protect, I'll say, swimmers. Boating safety equipment, I think we've heard our law enforcement here. You know, if you're driving a boat, you are responsible. When you get somebody on a boat, you need to show them where the life jackets are. You probably need to know if they know how to swim. And you are responsible for not only them, but the other boats, the swimmers, the fishermen that you pass on the lake. So again, there's a lot of responsibility, just like driving a car. And in terms of, you know, this driving boat under the influence, you know, we have a lot of parties and activities on the lake, a lot of fun, but just like going to a bar, have a designated driver to drive you home on the boat so that we don't have accidents. Community activities, you know, I guess I'm looking for some of the newer members, old members, et cetera, to come up with some new ideas. We introduced the fishing derby last year. We've had the lighted boat parade for a number of years. You know, do we want to add like kayaking groups, lake cleanup? You know, one of the things that the chief talked about was cleaning up the fallen down docks. I've been working with the Lions Club, and we've been looking at maybe starting like a weekly, you know, after the parties on the weekend, a weekly tour of the lake to pick up cans and bottles and things floating in the water. I think it's gotten a lot better based on what we've seen, but I've even gone so far as to think about some of these docks. There are people who know they've got ugly docks, they know they're falling down, but you know, they don't have the ability to remove them. So we might want to reach out to them and say, hey, you know, you need some help? You know, maybe we can get some contractors or other people to help us haul some of that debris away. But again, I look for any ideas that you guys have to, you know, do something in addition relative to community activities. Education, you know, Dan is kind of led the CPR and the boater certification. Whether you're on a boat or you're a swimmer or you're in the Lions Club, you know, CPR, if you aren't certified in CPR, you should do it. You never know when it's going to come to be a tool you'll need to save a family member, a friend, etc. So, you know, try and take that course whenever you can. In boater certification, we do have a lot of young people, and I think our class right now has 40 out of 50 filled for the June 20th section. Again, to drive a boat, you need to learn it as early as you can. 12 years old, 10 years old. I don't know what the youngest is, but yeah, I'm not sure if they're filled up. Okay, again, it's a great course, and if your kids are going to be boating, they need to get that certificate. And I'll say, you know, I've boated for hell's bells, I don't know, 60 years, but I took it last year for the first time in my life, and you do learn a lot, even though you think you know everything about boating. So you might want to, you know, go with your grandson, your granddaughter, and take the course with them. I'm sure you'll, you know, learn a lot. The instructors there were great. It's an all-day activity, but it's well worth it. In terms of the other education, again, we just want everybody on the lake to be better educated relative to things like the geese and the swans and the weeds, et cetera. The more we know about our lake, the more we can help them make corrective actions as necessary to make it a better place. Again, I've talked about communication, direct emails. Will be coming to your inbox more often than not because, again, people have said, hey, we don't, tonight, we don't use Facebook that much, so we don't see your ads for the annual meeting. And I guess newsletters, we haven't done much this past year, but we want to introduce that again as part of hopefully educating people relative to boating, the lake, et cetera. And I guess this LOLA branding, I have a number of friends that are members of the Lake Orion Boat Club. And when I say we're from the Lake Association, they say, oh, that place on the island down there, that boat club? I say, no, we are LOLA. So we're trying to create a brand. We are an association, a volunteer association that tries to do everything we can to make the lake a better place. The boat club is a boat club. It's a private boat club. And they do what they can to help the lake. But we are two different entities. We want to be known as an association that, again, is working to do everything it can to improve our lake.
Very good, Jim.
Hold on, let me just. This, if you've seen Facebook and some talking fish, et cetera, it's coming from me, but the young one was promoting the fishing derby. That was, I'll say, young Ori the Bass. This is older. This is senior Ori the Bass. But again, just trying to add a little light to everything we do. But again, communication will be through Facebook, the website, but we will get emails out relative to our events, our newsletters, safety tips, et cetera, et cetera. Again, we've already talked about boating. We've got that class on the 20th with about 10 openings. Dragon boat races coming up August 27th through the 30th. For those people who get involved in that, it's a great weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, we're trying to be partners with, I'll say, other associations on the lake, so just bear with me a minute, but we've got the Lions Lake Orion Jubilee. And again, my wife and others here are Lions what do? We serve. Well, help us raise money for people that we serve. And for the Jubilee, I'll say, many that live in the village know that it's been there for, 20 years, 15 years. It's going to be at Wildwood this year. The amusement rides, the beer tent, the music. So hopefully everybody will know that it's there and support us. We've got for people that live on the lake, we've got Flare Night coming up. And, this is our 250th anniversary. So, we want to light up the lake. And we do have, with the Lions, purchases that we put out on Dino's Island to basically, I'll say, reflect back to people who have passed, and we honor them by putting flares out on Dino's Island. We've got the 4th of July, and then they've got the Dock Fest. So there's a lot of activities. Our offices here are going to be busy over the next 2 months because, again, these are busy times, a lot of activities, but support all these groups. Many of them are looking to raise money to, again, help organizations and help people in our community. With that, Dan.
I think we're going to be in good hands with you, Jim. Really appreciate all your efforts.
Okay, all right. Huh?
I gotta say one thing.
Okay.
So, sorry, but I gotta take the mic here. Dan, don't go away. What Dan started off I think this evening by saying that I kind of cornered him to get him into LOLA from a board member standpoint. That is absolutely true. And I think where he was standing over there for the last 10 minutes, I think is where I cornered him, right? So you remember? So I really got to say thanks to Dan. He's brought LOLA, he's brought things to LOLA that I don't think any of us would have ever imagined or thought of. One of the first things he took on was redoing our website. The website had really, it was great, but Dan took it to a whole new level and made it interactive and the kind of thing that I wouldn't have known to start, right? He got us the presence on social media. Again, that's the kind of thing that Dan brought to LOLA that many of us would never have thought about. We've talked about the sponsorships. That was Dan's idea, and Dan has brought in through sponsorships dollars that, you know, as I think Pam mentioned, at $20 a crack, we didn't have enough money to really even do the buoys. And Dan brought in dollars that have enabled us to do some of the donations and support some of the things that we've been able to do. And then the CPR classes. When Dan first mentioned that, I was president at the time, I think, and Dan had mentioned CPR, and I thought, what's CPR got to do with LOLA? But you think about it, and it really is brilliant if you think about it, because accidents happen in the water, accidents happen on the lake, and to have folks trained in CPR makes a whole lot of sense. And those are the kind of things that Dan has brought to LOLA that, you know, I really appreciate. And I wanted to say that. I want to recognize Dan for what he's done.
George, thank you. Thank you, George. I think we got question and answer? Yes. Treasurer here. Treasurer question?
I think we got mics up there, they're working.
Somebody make sure they get those questions.
Just press the button. Chief will show you. These are experts.
I guess, are there any questions, or the first step? We walked all the way up here now, and
I have several.
is there any other questions?
My name's Jerry Richard.
Yep, it's on.
Is it? Oh, yeah, it's on. My name's Jerry Richards. I've been on the lake since 1973. And I think one of the biggest things that frustrates a lot of the residents is the overcrowding of the lake. And I am a firm believer that this overcrowding is caused partly by people that choose to rent out dock space. Not just one dock on their property, but maybe multiple docks on their property. And my previous involvement with this, if you're renting out a dock on your property, number one thing that you should be aware of is that your homeowner's insurance does not cover you for any liability associated with that. Number two, by the rules of the DNR, Eagle, you're supposed to have a permit for that because that's a marina. And I don't think we're doing a fair service to the lake or our residents when we allow these kinds of things to happen. And I know it's a struggle. I know it's a politically sensitive issue, but it's going to only get worse with time if somebody doesn't start to put a stop to it. And, you know, we talked many, many years about this. We formed the association in '77. I'm still a member. And it really, I know a lot of people, it really bugs them, and I'd like to know from you guys, what do you think we could do about it and be fair and impartial?
I got this one. No, this is, honestly, this is an easy one for me. Just for the Village of Lake Orion, and keep in mind, the shoreline of the Village of Lake Orion, I don't know, is maybe 60% of Lake Orion. I don't know the exact, so it's not, we have two different municipalities in there, so I'm only speaking on behalf of what I'm over. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else. But I've directed my staff, and first of all, we only allow, the only permitted marinas that we have, or dock spaces that are allowed to be rented, are in the mixed-use district in the Village of Lake Orion, which is going to be all of that space all up and down 24 pretty much. That's the mixed-use district. That's the only place they are legal. They are not legal in residential use districts. They are not legal anywhere else. So since I have two different hats, remember I have the police department and I have the zoning and code enforcement as well. This is not a police issue. It never will be a police issue. This is a zoning issue. This is a code enforcement issue. So what I've directed my staff is anytime we get a notice of a possible marina or renting dock space out, we will open and conduct an investigation on it. And I don't care who it is. I don't care who they know. They're going to be fined for it if we can determine probable cause that they are renting out dock space. Now, on the backside of it is it's difficult to prove at times, because if I come to you and you say, hey, it's, my brother and I'm allowing him to use the dock, it's not a crime. It's not a violation of what you just described. And that's challenging. So depending on the relationship with the people, it's only if they're receiving remuneration, God, that's another big word, but money or goods and services in exchange for the dock rental place is where it becomes a marina and it comes into that zoning violation with the current regulations that we have on the books now. And if we can show that, we can. But some of the ones that we have investigated, it's like, oh, that's my friend from Sterling Heights. We talked to the friend. Yeah, oh, he's my friend. He lets me put my boat there for free. He's a nice guy. Our hands are tied. It's not, with the current laws and the current regulations and the current zoning ordinances, we're not going to do anything further on that. And, personally, whether I disagree or not, it's irrelevant. We're going to look at what's on the books, what's approved, and we're going to enforce as we can. I will tell you that since I've been here, I've probably only had 1 or 2 complaints on this. So I hear a lot about it in conversations like this, but what I don't hear or see is someone contacting me and saying, hey, at this particular address, I believe they're renting out dock space. This is the reason I believe it, because A, B, and C. I never get that, and I've never gotten that since I've been here. I've only heard comments in situations like this of people doing it. So I encourage you and everybody else, if you do have a situation where you believe and you have some sort of, I don't want to say evidence, but reasonable suspicion or belief that it's occurring, send an email to code enforcement at lakeorionpolice.org. That's a website where and they'll come in, we'll log the complaint, we'll do a full investigation on it every single time, 100% of the time. I will never guarantee you the results of that investigation, but I will assure you that people will be talked to. And if we can determine it, they will end up getting a ticket for it, a citation, and brought into court for it. But like I said, it's a difficult thing to prove, but we will make an effort on it.
I think that's really important what you just said, because in many cases, people are so frustrated with it, they just say, well, we can't do anything about it. That may be why you're not hearing that. But now you've said it on a public format, and maybe, just maybe, some folks will take it seriously. Now, nobody likes to turn their neighbors in. Do you have an anonymous program in there as well?
If you send an email and you want to be anonymous and not turn your neighbor in, well, we're still going to look into it. It may limit how far we can push it if that's the only complaint we have. If the neighbor has video of random boats coming in and out, or, but we can work around anonymous, absolutely. And we'll do our best. But I'll tell you, I've been doing this investigation type work for 25 years. And, what we know and what we can prove are generally two different things.
You got the village on the Michigan Marine Safety Act?
Yeah, but that's not going to address, no, it's going to be strictly in zoning code. Oh, and I'm glad you said that. Not to change the subject, I forgot to put that in the PowerPoint, but last year we also adopted the Marine Safety Act in Michigan too, so our village is able to enforce based on code, which helps give us a little bit more authority on the water. So thanks for reminding me of that, but it's a separate issue.
And Jerry, just from my side, we know several of these cases, where there's maybe renters but it really comes down to, again, like the chief said, you can't really prove the exchange of money. And, they'll say it's their friend, it's their family member, it's whatever it is. And it's, the other part of your question, how it relates to overcrowded, how overcrowded the lake is. Personally, I don't think it is. It may have a small impact, but I really don't think that's a significant factor at all for overcrowding. I mean, for all of us that have been on the lake, I mean, for the most part, Saturday between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., yeah, you could argue it's a little overcrowded. But the other parts of the week and the times, probably not,
Well, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, Chief Edmondson, you mentioned how you won't really go too much after buoys, but, Bill, we met each other last year because of that one jet skier. There's a buoy that I know of, which that same jet skier will use kind of as his, sling shot to make a U-turn around it.
Right.
And, I mean, that's an obvious safety hazard, which, I mean, this is kind of my opinion, but wouldn't that qualify for removal of the buoy if there's an individual who's actively making it more dangerous in the area?
Yeah.
Well, I have about 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, between us and Bill, we'll address it. That's a jet skier problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, why would you think the buoy would need to be replaced or removed for that?
Because he's talked to the landowner and he says, hey, can you put this out there?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a
So it's not a
buoy that
state
sits out
buoy.
in the lake, and he uses it to whip around in a quick corner to have a good
Yeah,
stop.
I mean, that's something that potentially is a navigational hazard. I mean, if we got a report of that, I'm not specifically aware of that, but we would look at it.
It's the same guy that I had you.
Yeah, where is that one specifically?
It's like so Babette Island's like right here, and then there's the public dock on King's Circle. It's right in the way of the
Okay.
public dock.
Okay, I'll take a look at that again. Yeah.
I don't think we have anything at the moment. One of the things I know that we want to put together with Village and Marine Division is simulated like a rescue swimmer type or a distress swimmer type thing where we can launch the boat and all that. That'll probably.
How well did everybody get last year? Didn't they have that, helicopters up?
The drowning scare, yeah, we had a drowning scare last year.
That wasn't training, that was an actual.
That was actual, yeah.
And you were all involved in it?
We were all involved in that, yes.
Is there anything else you need to know?
No, we're good right now. Appreciate it.
One other thing I'll just say to everybody, one thing I like is, and this just happened with Matt, about a week ago or so, if you see something, call me, okay, while I'm working, or come and find me. Because, community policing is great, right? I can't be everywhere on the lake, and the chief's officers can't be everywhere on the lake. So give me a phone call if you see something dangerous, or track me down. And all of you have eyes everywhere, so please help.
Videotape, we've talked.
We've spoken. If you get something on video of somebody, or get a photo of their MC numbers, but a video, there's all the evidence that Bill needs to go do enforcement, or the chief and his people.
Wasn't you last year that saw somebody whack one?
Hit your buoy, yeah, then I ended up having to go talk to them because they got a little upset that I noticed and called them out on it, but, I live in on the way to Rick's in there, and I'll get jet skis or boats that'll full speed through there, at times, so I call Bill, and Bill can usually get them at the dock if they park and do that kind of thing. So it's all of our job to help. It's a big, relatively big lake with, you know, a couple of sets of eyes, and that's it.
Just a question. I think I've asked it several times of the two individuals that are sitting up there right now. You know, on the books, the ordinance, it says that 40 miles an hour is the speed limit. You know, and I now know that publicly you have a radar gun. So how will we use that for, you know, writing tickets or just slowing people down? Because we know the jet skiers, we know there's, you know, several boats that obviously go well beyond 40 miles an hour. 40 miles an hour with the 400 horsepower engines that are out there today, you know, it's not even close to maybe what it should be. I mean, should we change the code? Are you going to give tickets? What's your opinion?
I get that, Bill? Okay. First, let me just clarify one thing you said is we don't actually have a radar gun. We've been approved by our council to invest in a capital improvement project, and enhancing the Marine unit was on my capital improvement list. We are purchasing one once the new budget takes over, and we're about 3 weeks shy of it. For clarification, the one, you made a good point of changing the administrative code. Nobody at this table and nobody at the county or local level have the ability to change the state code. That is in the sole responsibility of the state and legislation, managed by the DNR. So changing the code for the Lake Orion rules, the administrative code, is not an option. It never will be an option. There's no council, there's no township board that can do that. It is managed and mandated on the waters by the state. So that's not even possible. The other thing we wanted, you touched on, was what are we going to do about it? That goes, like Lieutenant Burwell said, it's going to be dependent upon the situation. But I'll tell you right now, we can't even tell how fast people are going. Nobody can, without a radar gun. So
Okay,
now once we get the radar gun, we'll be able to determine. So if we do have a speeder and they are causing, potentially dangerous situation by their speed, we are going to address it appropriately. Will that result in a ticket? I'll tell you, my people, most likely, yes, most of the time it will. Are there going to be circumstances where there may be a little discretion? Maybe, but I'm going to actually lean towards we would cite in an excessive speed situation. Now, if we're talking lower, non-safety related crimes, I'm more okay with discretionary in conversations. But once we start putting other boats and people in jeopardy, that's where I personally feel, I don't want to speak on anyone else, but I personally feel that a little bit enforcement needs for the person to get the message. So I don't want to say an absolute on anything ever, but I definitely support my guys giving tickets 110% of the time on those situations that are putting people at risk. So
The other thing, just from my standpoint, if, again, we don't have a radar gun, we're not allowed to pace, so I can't pace somebody because it's just the accuracy of the speedometer, you just don't know. But if I do see like a fast boat, perhaps leaving the water, it's obviously going over 40, I'll stop them, I'll talk to them. Maybe do a safety inspection, maybe there's a violation there somewhere for something else. But at this point, that's about all we can do until the chief gets his radar gun, and then we're gonna be collaborating together on that.
They have a sale on Donzi's.
Yeah,
They're all over.
I know,
all over the
I
lake.
see.
And I guess to me, again, living on Bellevue Island, I love seeing the traffic. I love seeing the wakeboarders, the jet skiers. It's a bunch of fun for me. But my key item, and I know I've said this to you guys time and time again, the number one goal for me next year is safety. And I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't care if you give out 0 or no tickets, but I want the patrols to at least give warnings to people that are driving, I'll say recklessly at high speeds on a Sunday afternoon when there's 10 boats, out between Bellevue Island and the Lake Street boat ramp. Because at the end of the day, we've been lucky, We know what happened at Cass Lake. We don't want it to happen here on Lake Orion. So that's all I'll say. Safety is my number one objective.
And again, Jim, community policing, right? If you see something specific on a boat that I don't see or the chief doesn't see, that's, driving recklessly or carelessly, weaving in and out, whatever, call me up, right? And I'll take care of it. I'll look into it.
And Jim, one last thing too, it's one of those things where, where's a cop when you need one, and like, I'll be on 24, and how many people do I see flying on 24 when I'm in my personal vehicle? I mean, it's like a drag race sometimes out there, so it just, you kind of saw a glimpse of what our hours is. I think the sheriff's department's similar on the man hours that we have budgeted for the lake too, just, it's bad that we're not always out there, and I wish we could be, but just, it's that whole thing, where's a cop when you need one? And I even say that to myself sometimes.
Well, again, Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 6 in the afternoon, that's when we need you to sit out there and just show people that, again, we're watching. We want you to be safe, not as, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning when there's a few fishermen out there, and maybe a few wake surfers that, are doing no harm.
Yeah.
Question over here?
Hi, to kind of echo Jim's comments on safety, something that I've lived on the lake for now it's 10 years, and something that I am seeing more of and I'm becoming more concerned about as a parent in particular is seeing kind of the known underage drinking and partying that's happening on the sandbar, where it's almost becoming a well-known place for teenagers to take boatloads of friends out and party. And I'm not trying to diminish anyone's fun, but the combination of underage drinking on water terrifies me. And I know, again, obviously people have probably been doing this for decades, but again, I have lived on the lake for a decade and I have seen an uptick on it, and maybe because I am closer to having friends and neighbors whose children are that age, and maybe I'm closer to it in that I hear about it and I see it more, but it's just terrifying. And I understand that you had indicated you don't want the police presence on the lake to be seen as an army, and the way to address issues on the lake is not to go out and write a huge amount of tickets, but I think that we need to do something that sets a precedent to discourage this, because and I'm sorry, gentlemen, I'm confusing your names, but when you had mentioned you write 2 tickets related to the dock issue, and then you got an uptick of 75 applications for those stickers. I think even doing something like that related to this issue and just showing your presence, and I'm not even necessarily advocating writing a ticket for an MIP and ruining somebody's life, but something where presence and enforcement is shown, and I think it would go a really long way in terms of discouragement.
And when you brought that up to me, for a fact, that conversation with Bill, Chief Adamson, and the lieutenant here. So they're all aware of it. It's just,
So ironically, we had this discussion right before the meeting, specifically on MIPs for kids on Lake Orion. And we do have a plan this year. The unfortunate thing is, the way the law is, I can't stop somebody that perhaps is drinking and ask them their age, right? I can have a conversation with them, but I can't actually pull them over and inquire about their age because they're drinking because they look young. If they're doing something wrong, or I can come up to them and I can start I can have a regular conversation, not really pulling them over. And then, hey guys, how old are you? And if they implicate themselves, then it leads to, we have a process in place this year for MIPs. So you should see a change this year based on the plan that we have specifically to address that.
Yeah, it is a challenging issue, but I just had a conversation with Lieutenant Burwell today. I've talked to him about it prior to today as well. We're aware. We're trying to come up with some sort of, how can we, obviously we can put presence out there, but we're trying to come up with a little bit of plan to have an impact. And realistically, I mean, I get the boat stuff, but the sandbar is probably where a lot of this is occurring. And we're trying to wrap our heads together of, hey, how can we do this? We're looking at some of the successes of what went well at Cass Lake and Kego, and then to see is there anything we potentially could utilize on our lake as well that they did. Keep in mind, they had 22 deputies out there at one time, and, you know, it's a little bit different with manpower, but they do have access to some jump boats, and maybe we come up with some sort of plan to aggressively address it, or aggressively have a presence out there on certain weekends. 4th of July, like, I get that's a huge weekend, but it's also a huge weekend on how many other lakes, and, you know, so we might be able to get an extra jump boat or two for Lake Orion, but they're going to be stretched. So that's not a good weekend to aggressively enforce it, but we're having those conversations. You know, I know talk is cheap, but I'm telling you, we are having those conversations.
Okay, thank you.
One thought was, you know, when you can hit somebody, meaning get them on something, would be a strategy I would think would work. In other words, when I see these boatloads of kids go by, you know, in the channel there, and you know, not all. Sometimes they're really well behaved, sometimes they're not. But if you can pull them over for anything and maybe cite them for something else, and you just utilize just kind of like you talked about, you can't pull somebody over for that, but you can do the safety inspection, you can talk to some of them, and I would think that strategy alone, the kids will scare some of them and might help the behavior. But the other thought is maybe a letter to the editor and the reviewer or something, letting parents know that they are actually the responsible party when they're letting their kids take the boats out, because that's like what it is. It's kids taking their parents' boat out and then grabbing their friends and partying. Making sure that the parents understand that when they do that, if that kid hurts somebody out on the lake or somebody from his boat gets hurt, that is a parent's responsibility and liability, and that might also help to change the you know, trajectory.
Yeah, there's kind of a fine line there, Matt, with, again, we can't pull somebody over for no reason, right? Just to give a safety inspection, those days are gone. But if they are doing something wrong, the fine line is if it's maybe not pulling them over, but just having a conversation with somebody. And if it leads to a longer conversation, then, hey, how about a safety inspection? Maybe they even agree to it, right? And then that leads to finding other things.
Much for your taking your personal time to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody's invited. We're going up to the burger bar to get something to eat. Afterwards,